Here in the US, Vice President Kamala Harris has secured a steady stream of endorsements to be the Democrats' new presidential nominee after Joe Biden backed her shortly after he dropped out. Well, Harris is due to speak at the White House in about an hour and a half from now. Campaign officials and allies have already made hundreds of calls on her behalf. They're urging delegates to attend next month's Democratic Party convention and support Harris's nomination against Republicans nominee Donald Trump. As of now, Harris is saying that she intends to earn and win the nomination. Harris has raised $50 million for her presidential campaign in less than a day. Meanwhile, Biden will stay on as the president until January and is expected to address the nation this week. Well, President Biden, in his endorsement of Harris, said he will now focus entirely on fulfilling his duties as president for the remainder of the term. Among other things on the agenda is a meeting with visiting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who flies to the US on Monday. Netanyahu has said he would thank Biden for all he's done for Israel throughout his career and discuss with him issues such as securing the release of Israeli hostages in Gaza, defeating Hamas and confronting Iran and its proxies in the region. A meeting with Biden is tentatively planned for Tuesday if the 81-year-old Biden has recovered from COVID-19. Netanyahu is scheduled to address US Congress on Wednesday.
I will tell my friends on both sides of the aisle that regardless who the American people choose as their next president, Israel remains America's indispensable and strong ally in the Middle East. I plan to see President Biden. There will also be an opportunity to discuss with him how to advance in the critical months ahead the goals that are important for both our countries. Achieving the release of all our hostages, defeating Hamas, confronting the terror axis of Iran and its proxies, and ensuring that all Israel citizens return safely to their homes in the north and in the south.
Well, Nick Harper joins us now live from Washington for more on all of this. So, Nick, let's start with Vice President Harris's bid. How is that coming together, and what can we expect from her speaking at the White House in an hour and a half from now?
Yeah, Caroline, this is the first full day of Kamala Harris campaigning to try and become the Democratic Party's nominee, and I think she has two main challenges ahead: unifying the party, but also fending off challengers. Now, at this stage, she has had a whole raft of very high-profile endorsements, and we haven't yet seen a challenger come forward to say that they will be trying to take that nominee status away from her. We have heard in the last hour or so the West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. He used to be a Democrat, became an independent, suggested yesterday that he might re-register as a Democrat to challenge Harris. He has said definitively that he does not plan to do that. You mentioned the fundraising, about $50 million raised during the course of Sunday. She spent 10 hours on the phone speaking to lawmakers, to donors, to governors, to people that she might potentially choose as her vice presidential pick if she becomes the nominee. There does seem to be this building enthusiasm and momentum around her fledgling campaign at the moment. But you're right, in about an hour and a half's time from now, slightly less, she is due to speak at the White House. Now, this was a pre-planned event. We're told that she will be delivering remarks at an event that celebrates the National Collegiate Athletic Association's championship teams. So she will be there with sports teams, but of course it'll be closely watched because this will be the first time that we could hear from her publicly on her presidential ambitions, and I think it will strike a startlingly different contrast with President Joe Biden. Here we will have Kamala Harris on the South Lawn of the White House, while Joe Biden remains behind closed doors, not seen by the public, still self-isolating as a result of COVID-19 at his home in Delaware.
Well, you mentioned Biden's COVID-19 illness. He's got a planned meeting, though, with the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on Tuesday. What can we expect from that if it goes ahead?
That's right. That meeting was meant to take place later on today, but it was pushed back due to his COVID-19 diagnosis. In theory, it is still happening. Netanyahu has come to the US for this meeting and then for an address to both the House and the Senate on Wednesday. Now, normally we would see the President and the Prime Minister together in the Oval Office. They would make a few remarks. The press would be allowed inside before they got on with their meeting proper. It's all pretty standard when you have a head of state coming here to the US to be entertained by the President. But this will be very, very different because it will be, in theory, the first time that we get to see Joe Biden in almost a week since he self-isolated on Wednesday, and also the first public remarks from him since that bombshell statement on Sunday that he was dropping his re-election bid. He may make some remarks, but he's also promised that he will address the nation on the matter of his re-election dropping later this week. So they may decide to change the format. They may not have that Oval Office remarks with the press involved. Or it may be that they just focus on the business of the Middle East. Many unknowns, but it will be fascinating to watch and one that will undoubtedly be scrutinised, as we could be seeing Biden there for the first time in almost a week.
Thank you, Nick. That was Nick Harper reporting live from Washington.